Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can track your investment account, whether it's a employer-sponsored 401k, IRA, or Roth IRA, or 401k. I personally have a Roth IRA. Um, this is sort of my own information here, but it doesn't really matter. Um, Sample information would not depict properly what I want to show you. And it's not really confidential. It's just my portfolio. It doesn't matter. So the actual substance that I'm going to show you is basically this chart here. Well, I have two charts here, which I want to show you what the difference between the two are, what they do. And the more general point of the video is going to just show you how you can track your own investment portfolio better on your own table than on whether you have Robinhood or Fidelity or Vanguard or whatever. Or I had M1 Finance at one point. But those do not, they allow you to see a week, a month, a year, but they don't allow you to pinpoint 2 points and see how your account did over that specific period. You just take 2 random months and see how it did between those 2 months. So first I'll show you my columns, what they do, and then we'll see how it goes. So we have a one column, the deposit column, which is how much money have I put in total since I started at that point. So it climbs. I never mind this because I never withdraw because it's a government retirement account and you can't not supposed to withdraw. The second is the ending balance, which is what it clocked in at the end of the month. I usually do it with either if the market closes on the last day on a weekday, I will do it. If it's on Saturday, then I will not, because I can't do work on my Saturday. So I'll clock it in at the next chance I get. But usually I don't. I mean, even if I'm 2 days out with the market still open, it's not going to be that much different. But yeah, so I can just clock it in, and then even if it's a tiny bit off, doesn't really matter. But so these three columns are the type data entry columns. The next 4 columns are all formulas. So let's see if I can remember what I did here. First one is monthly increase, which is not just how much. It's not just this divided by that, right? Minus, not -1, just yes, -1, because if it's growing, if you don't do -1, you're gonna get, it's gonna be 100% plus whatever percent you grew. So you do -1 to get that. But that's not going to calculate. It's not going to account for increase in deposits, which is why it's more complicated than that. So what is it? Well, the first one is just that it's C2 divided by B2 minus 1, because I deposited and it grew within December 2018, and that January was the bottom of that dip then with the trade war. So yeah, that's the first one. The second one already has to take into account new deposits. So what does it do? It takes in C3 minus C2. So that number, the growth minus the growth in deposits. So the difference between this difference and that difference, that I want to divide by the original. And the reason why I don't have to do -1 is because I'm dividing the difference by the original, not the end balance minus the original. So hopefully you get that math. So it's the difference between this difference and that difference. So it's 4 numbers with 3 minuses in the middle with a parentheses over here. So it's a little bit of a hard math, and I can't really explain how the math works better than that. And that's the first column. And you can see some areas are nothing, some areas, this word over here was Corona set in. The reason why I totally got wiped out was because, which is a whole different area, a whole different discussion. But I recovered since then. I mean, if I just held onto my stock, I would not have been wiped out that bad. But I was being stupid then, so I got hit hard, and eventually I climbed back out of there. So next is that's monthly increase. Total growth is much easier to calculate because I'm not accounting for differences in deposits. So what is total growth? Total growth, well, in this case, the first month is a total growth. Second month, I am calculating, what did I calculate? 1 plus, so I need 107.93% times, so the previous total growth plus the current growth. Then times, plus the growth, but in mathematical terms is times that percent. So 107.93 times 122 minus that 100 goes back, takes off the hundreds. I need the hundreds, the 100% to do the math. Otherwise, I think I do. Maybe I don't, but either way, that's how we get to here. Let me actually go into formulas, evaluate formula, and show you. So 43% plus 1, that's 1.43, right? 143% times negative 8%. So that's effectively it's 143 times 0.9 times 91% is only 130%, which is 100% because it's minus 1, and that's how we get there. Hopefully you got that. That's that column. Column F, is called current margin. What's current margin? Current margin is not total growth. The difference between the two is total growth is if I look at point A of 250 and point B, right? Total growth, if I divide that one by one, that's if I divide the point B by point A minus 1, that's current margin. But total growth is taking into account all of these percentages. So it's always the previous total times the current, which is why it differs. And that's where this chart is. This chart is comparing score. Score is total growth because that's how I fared. This is it's my investing score. Whereas current margin, I'm not calling it a score. It's my actual difference between where I started and where I am. The sort of dollar value. I have current margin in dollars, but I have current margin in SCM dollars, current margin in dollars versus current margin percentage, because even though I'm not measuring in dollars, it's still an absolute value, whereas my score is not an absolute. It's measuring, it's always building on previous score. So it's not the same. An example of how they diverge. Why would they diverge? If you always had positive growth, if you never have negative growth, or if you never add money, then I'm not sure which one of those factors is the right one. Maybe it's both. Because there are two things. If you add money, or if you have a negative growth, then either one or two of those factors will make your score diverge from your real margin, or total growth and your current margin. However you want to label those two things, hopefully you got what those two represent. And this chart is simpler. which this one is measuring deposit versus your ending balance, which basically shows you the difference between the blue and the red line is your current margin dollars. Okay, and that's the whole thing. So those are those two fancy formulas. I didn't actually show you my current margin formula. So let's see what it does. So the first one is just monthly increase, right? The second one is measuring C3 minus B1. And the next one is the same thing, but it looks like I start looking for is blinks. I start looking for if D is 0. I don't know why I was looking for that. For some reason I was checking for if D is blank, then give me nothing, which is weird. I don't know why I did that. Anyways, that's that. Yeah, that's the whole thing. And this is a dollar value, so it's not divided by, it's just a difference between B and C. So that's that. There you go. Hopefully you find that useful. I'm actually going to flash over the columns quickly. This monthly increase looks like it actually got more complicated at one point also. What does it say? If they're both 0, then do 0. Basically, it means that's the point of this first bit here, is basically telling Excel that if I go like this, if I autofill and then delete these two rows, then these will just do 0 and they won't give me errors. That's the point of the if those are two things are zeros, then give me errors. Don't give me, give me 0. Don't give me error that you couldn't divide by 0. Basically, that's the point of that. Let me undo that. So that's that formula. The actual formula is here. Again, it's the if this difference in ending balance is greater than the difference in deposits, then divide the difference between the differences by the first ending balance. That sounds like Chinese, right? The second one, the formula is here, is the previous total times the current. Remind, take off that 100%, so it goes back to the, right? This one is current margin. Also, I froze the top row there. If you know how to do that, I'm not going to teach you how to freeze the rows, but yeah, I have it like that. So it's like, because there's too many columns otherwise. This is the current margin. Current margin is just saying it's just the balances, the ending balance divided by the deposits, and the dollars is the minus because I want the dollar value, not the percentage. And there we are. That's